At issue this Sunday morning, getting to a deal. With a budget impasse now in its third month and SEPTA funding hanging in the balance, our exclusive bipartisan conversation with a group of lawmakers about what it would take and how close they are. And state of the race. What does the latest polling tell us about the election for New Jersey's next governor? We're taking a look inside the numbers. And return of the champs. The Eagles are just days away from the start of the regular season. We'll look at how they're gearing up to defend their title.
NBC10 at Issue starts now.
I'm Lauren Mayk. Welcome to NBC10 at Issue. The twists and turns for riders keep coming. A judge late this past week issued a temporary injunction that stops more cuts from going into effect. It also stops a fare increase initially planned for tomorrow. Meanwhile, the city announced this week it's making a move that will help restore some bus lines and ease congestion on routes used by students. Amid all of it, the question of how lawmakers get to a deal on transit funding and a larger budget still lingers. I've been talking to lawmakers throughout this budget impasse about where things stand and what it would take to get a deal. But usually we hear from one side and the other separately during this process. But this past week, 4 local lawmakers representing Philadelphia agreed to talk to me together. 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. We were all at an event in Northeast Philadelphia, which is where this bipartisan conversation took place. Here's my conversation with Democratic Representative Elizabeth Fiedler, Republican Senator Joe Picozzi, Democratic Representative Morgan Cephas, and Republican Representative Martina White.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking a minute after your event here. We have the opportunity to talk to Democrats and Republicans who represent this area about where things are with SEPTA. What can you tell us? I'm going to start with you. How close are you to a deal?
Well, I believe we're close to the point where we'll be able to land the plane at some point. I mean, listen, right?
At some point?
At some point in the near future. Right now, I mean, it's not necessarily about the politics of the conversation. I mean, one of my constituents that I ran into was an 85-year-old gentleman, and I asked him what was he doing that day. He said he was actually getting some exercise, but he also recognized that the bus 31 was eliminated, as directly in my district, that connects people from City Ave all the way down to Center City, and he was walking to his doctor's appointment. So both sides, we understand that it's about that individual that needs to access mass transit in order to access critical things throughout the city of Philadelphia. It's about the 53,000 students that went back to school without a transit system to rely on. So I think both parties were just trying to get to a place where we can find common ground and really get a deal done that benefits not just the southeast of Pennsylvania, which is where we are all from, but benefits Pennsylvania as a whole.
But you think you're close?
I think we're close, yes.
Senator Picozzi, Representative Cephas is the chair of the Democratic Philadelphia delegation. You serve in the Senate.
I do.
Do you think that you're close?
I'm incredibly encouraged by things I'm hearing. Progress is being made. All the leaders are talking. Look what you have here today. Democrats, Republicans, House, Senate. The politics of this is in the past. We're fighting for the future of our city. And that's why I'm really excited to be here today, talking together. And I think everyone's moving closer and closer and closer. So we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep talking to my colleagues, House, Senate, Democrat, Republican, and keep moving the ball forward.
Why isn't there a deal yet?
I don't know every single detail of the inside negotiations, but I know that everyone involved wants to see the same outcome. We want to see our trains and buses moving again. It's about the people that we serve.
Representative Fiedler, House, Senate, House, there's been some tension. You have a senator right here. Is the Senate moving fast enough?
I think that we're getting closer to a deal. As a lawmaker, a mom of 4, I count on the bus to get around, just like a lot of my neighbors. And so, as the chairwoman was saying, we hear from all of our constituents. It's also a reality for us. We recognize that we are facing a very dire situation right now. We have to do everything we can to get a deal done as quickly as possible. That's true for students. That's true for workers. That's true for moms and dads. Everybody's counting on us. And so, I am optimistic that we will get to a place where everybody can agree to a deal, and then we can all go there and do our job in Harrisburg. We are all ready at the drop of a dime to get back there, whether it's via a train or a car, however you get there. We are ready to finalize the deal, to fund our transit system, and then to move on to the next important set of work, because we can't get to that until we figure out how to sustainably fund transit in a long-term way. It has to be a sustainable way. We can't do Band-Aids and piecemeal. We have to make sure that this is a transit system everybody can rely on, like I said, so they can get to work, get to school, get to doctor's appointments. So I think we're getting there.
Governor Shapiro this week said that he is open to using the Transit Trust Fund that I know you had suggested, Senator Pecosi. Are you open to voting for something that has that in that?
I think we have to look at every option possible. I'm confident that our leadership is at the table with the governor talking about all of these possible solutions. And I think our constituents
Want us to get something done, a deal done that is respectful and has long-term funding. And so I think we're looking at all of those options.
Representative White, you are a Republican in the State House. You also serve on the SEPTA board. SEPTA's general manager had raised some questions, raised some concerns about using that trust fund. That seems to have softened a little bit. How do you feel about using that trust fund? Are you comfortable with that?
So I am actually the only legislator in the entire Commonwealth that has actually voted for all of the various options that have been put on the table to help fund SEPTA, whether it's temporarily to get us through for a couple of years, which is what the Senate has proposed, or if it's a long-term funding solution. And I think that what is most critical right now is that we continue to negotiate the budget to that effect, that we make sure that riders have access to a safe and reliable system that has the funds available to them to make sure that takes place. But not just that. An entire budget can't just be about SEPTA funding. There's also major reforms that need to take place, because I can't imagine that people are willing to support the idea that kids will be sent to a failing school. So we'll pay for a free ride on a bus to get them to a failing school. That's where some of the reforms need to take place, along with, as I spoke earlier, about unleashing Pennsylvania's energy. We need to help everyday taxpayers, but we also need to help the people who are hurting back home. They can't afford their energy bills. 20% increase in June on their energy bills. There's things that this legislature can do in a bipartisan way to help fix these issues, and that's the kind of conversations that are happening when it comes to this budget. And I think that every day we are inching closer, and I'm glad to be here today with my colleagues.
How close do you think that your colleagues are who are negotiating this?
I think we're still weeks away.
Weeks away?
Potentially.
Why? What gives you that feeling?
Well, it still takes a while to draft the legislation itself and the policies that are being negotiated. And until there's some solidification around that, I think it's going to take a little bit.
Is there something specific that you think could speed things up?
I mean, I think that it really comes down to the governor, the House Democrat leader, and the Senate Majority Leader continuing to get to the table and negotiate a final product.
Do all of you feel like you are being updated and informed on what's going on in those negotiations? Because sometimes we wonder what's happening behind closed doors. Do you wonder as well, or are you getting regular updates?
We're getting regular updates, which is one of the reasons why we can, strongly, affirmatively say that we are close. And again, the main focus is to make sure that everybody stays at the table to get a deal done. So again, we can get our mass transit system moving here in southeastern Pennsylvania. But also, it's not just about Philadelphia. It's about the entire Commonwealth. I mean, we are not the only one facing the challenges that SEPTA has. We also have Pittsburgh that's facing the same thing. Lehigh County is facing the same thing. So it's imperative for all of us to just stay at the table, to stay informed, and to do what we can to ensure that we get a deal that works for all of Pennsylvania.
I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to ask you one thing. I asked the House Speaker last week about just sort of how people should view what's going on right now. They all, SEPTA riders, residents here, they all look to Harrisburg to do something. And this budget is very, very late. Is this a failure? Did you all fail in doing what you needed to do to stop the cuts and to get a budget? Senator?
Well, look what you have right here today. You've got 4 leaders who are standing up.
You got no budget.
But we've been working tirelessly around the clock to get something done. The fight isn't over. We're going to keep fighting, all of us in the city, to get this done. Politics is difficult, but we're fighting very, very hard to deliver results for the people back home, and we are going to get it done.
There's just one more thing. There's a lawsuit that is being filed against SEPTA to try to stop the cuts. Do you think that is something that could be useful, effective, or are you concerned it could do the opposite?
I think right now everybody just needs to stay at the table to get the job done. Again, people are, wanting to focus on common sense solutions so they can rely on the bus to get to their medical appointments, to get to school. So I think that is where we need to fundamentally keep our focus so we can land this plane as soon as possible. Because again, it's not just us hurting in the city of Philadelphia, and it's also not just about SEPTA. It's our school districts that aren't receiving the funding that they need in order to operate their classrooms. It's our nonprofit organizations that are being impacted by this as well. So again, we want to firmly, stay focused on our leadership, staying at the table to land the plane, to get a deal done that benefits not just the city of Philadelphia, but all of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Would you all vote for skill games, regulating skill games?
I'm fine with it. It depends on what the actual proposal looks like, but that has not come over to us yet. In the House.
Yes, we. Again, all things are on the table. It is, a conversation that has been for some time during the budget process. But again, we have to see what a final proposal would look like before we can weigh in.
The concept of skill games?
We need to see a final proposal before we agree to anything.
I don't have one in my pocket.
Right. But we know this situation is urgent, so I think we are all full attention at whatever proposal is presented to try to get to a deal.
Count on NBC10 and the NBC10 app for complete coverage of the SEPTA service cuts, including the ongoing legal battle and what commuters can expect in the coming days. Just ahead, poll positions. Who's ahead in the race for New Jersey governor? A conversation with a polling expert straight ahead.
This is NBC10 at Issue.
We're back now with Decision 2025 and a check-in on where things stand with one of our area's most closely watched contests, the race for New Jersey governor. Now, in the latest Rutgers-Eagleton poll on this race, Democratic Congresswoman Mayk leads Republican former Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli 44% to 35%. 17% of voters in this poll said they are unsure. The margin of error is 3.7%. And joining us now to discuss the state of the race is Ashley Koenig. She is the director of the Eagleton Center for Public Interest Polling at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Welcome, Ashley. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So how would you describe the race as we head into this post-Labor Day stretch?
Yeah, we're heading into the home stretch here of the next few months, and this is really considered the unofficial kickoff of campaign season. And so we haven't seen or heard a ton from the candidates, at least for the average voter over the summer, but we do know voters are starting to pay more attention, and that much wider lead we saw right after the primaries has now lessened to something that we can see as probably more competitive and increasingly more competitive as we enter the fall season.
Is the amount of the undecided vote that you saw in this poll, is this what you would expect at this point, kind of still in the summertime with people maybe not tuned in yet?
Very much so. Let's talk about a few things. Number one, this is an open seat. These two candidates may not be on the radar of every voter yet. Voters may not have strong opinions yet. Obviously, this is Governor Phil Murphy's last term, so the seat is vacant. Number two, we have a whole layer of national politics on top of this, and voters may be fatigued with the news and trying to follow the national landscape. And number three, you hit the nail on the head. It's summer, and voters may not be tuning in yet. Voters are less likely to tune into statewide and local elections than they are presidential.
You mentioned national politics. What are you seeing there? How is this race shaping up? Is it looking like it's something that's going to be driven by local issues specific to New Jersey, or are national politics going to play a role?
I think the role of national politics is looming large, but just how large compared to state, I think, has yet to be determined. There are issues that New Jerseyans acutely are feeling right now, especially after a summer of skyrocketing utility bills. So it's that buzzword of affordability, cost of living, kitchen table economic issues that are really going to matter here. And presumably, as of right now, it looks like they could outweigh more nationalized issues. But of course, all politics seems to be national nowadays. And of course, at some extent, national politics and the Trump administration will loom over this campaign.
You also did a separate poll about that recently. What did you find?
So we actually talked about whether or not New Jersey voters support or oppose the Make America Great Again movement. And we saw that about 49% of voters in New Jersey opposed it, while 34% supported it at some level. What's interesting here is we see that New Jersey Republicans, who have typically been known for their center-right beliefs and moderation, are squarely in the camp of the MAGA movement. We see over 8 in 10 say that they support MAGA at some level. Even independents are split on this. And what's key to the gubernatorial is that we see that independents who support MAGA are much more likely to go for Chitterelli than those who oppose MAGA are to go for Sherrill. And even those independents who are unsure about MAGA are more likely to go for Chitterelli as well.
Independent voters could be really significant in this race. The number of unaffiliated voters is growing in New Jersey. It is inching closer to the number of registered Democrats in New Jersey. Where are the candidates in winning them over?
Yeah, both candidates need independents here. Independents are the key constituency, especially in a place like New Jersey. Chitterelli needs independents to cross the finish line because even though Republicans have made gains in registration, they're still about just under 1 million behind Democrats when it comes to voter registration. So independents are really crucial for him, but also in case Mikey Sherrill's base doesn't turn out, she needs to make sure that she's recruiting independents as well. So both of these candidates have to do quite a delicate dance with how they approach independents and the issues they decide to highlight to court independents and persuade them to vote for them come Election Day.
Just ahead, return of the champs. Can the Eagles bring home another Lombardi trophy this season? We'll get analysis from NBC Sports Philadelphia's Barrett Brooks straight ahead.
This is NBC10 at Issue.
The Super Bowl champions return to the field this coming week for their first regular season game since winning their second Super Bowl. NBC10 is your official Eagles station, and we're helping you get ready for kickoff. Joining us now to talk about the Birds is former Eagle Barrett Brooks. He's an analyst for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Thanks for being here. Great to see you, Barrett.
Thank you for having me. I mean, we're upon the opening of the season. I can't wait.
So we may be at week 1, but you know that fans are already ready to throw a parade. So let's talk about what it would take to have that kind of success again. It is a different year. What would it take this year?
It'll just take this team being healthy. They already have the best roster in the NFL, bar none. They have, specific players that are the best player at those positions. People understand that we have a couple of guys that are the best at position. You look at A.J. Brown. He's the top 3 wide receiver. The offensive line is the best offensive line in the NFL. We have the best running back in the NFL. And of course, I'm kind of partial to Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback. But when you look at those type of guys, young talent, we got the best slot corner in the league in Cooper DeJean. Quentin, is one of the best outside corners in the league. We are so talented up front. It's just amazing how good this team is. So I think the only thing that's keeping us back, that would keep us back, nothing's going to keep us back, that would keep us back is probably health. I think they have everything together. This organization's run the right way. Everything is falling into place for them to repeat this year.
All right, yeah, stay healthy, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the differences this year. The offense is pretty much the same as we saw on the field in New Orleans, but the defensive side of the ball is looking different. So tell us about the differences that fans are going to notice with this year's roster.
Well, you have younger guys. People understand this is the second youngest team in the NFL, and we by far have the youngest defense. Both of our cornerbacks that came from last year are just in their second year. But when you look at it, we let some guys go, but we have ample guys come in and fill in for them. I think, Mario Jomo is going to take that next step. He's going to replace Milton Williams that left and went and got a great contract from New England. We have guys that'll step in and play right now. Jordan Davis is going to come in and play at a high level. Nolan Smith came into his own halfway through the season. He'll be a double-digit sack guy. That's my prediction. This defense may be young, but this will be the second year that Vic Fangio has these guys in the same defense. They hadn't had that in a long time. We lost coordinators. We had 2 coordinators before Vic Fangio came. When you have 2, you don't even have 1. So at this point, he is teaching these guys how to run his defense, and they're going to get even better because he's a teacher. He teaches these guys how to do it, and they are grappling it and flourishing at the positions they are. So look forward to this defense being better than it was last year, simply because it's another year under Vic Fangio's guidance.
What did you see during training camp and the preseason that kind of gives you a sense of how the team is shaping up? Was there anything that surprised you, or did you see what you were expecting to see?
You know what? I won a Super Bowl and went into that next year, and me and that Steeler team, we didn't do so well. I think we fared like 8-8 because we didn't know how to go in and really separate ourselves from that victory. You know, after that game, we thought of ourselves as being, you know, bigger and better than what we were when we weren't. This team took the exact opposite approach. They took that, and after they got their rings, they pushed it to the side. They no longer think of themselves as Super Bowl champions. What they're doing is going in and taking it the way you're supposed to take it, and that's taking it day by day, play by play, and game by game. Everything is over now from that season. This season, they're going to this new season, and they're ready to go and build upon them being a more solid team in the locker room, which is going to give better results on the outside. So, yeah, they've already told that Super Bowl bye, and they're going in and they're trying to accomplish what they accomplished last year, and they're taking it one game at a time, and that's the best way to do it.
Well, NBC10 is the official TV station of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we've got a full week of coverage leading up to the season kickoff against the Dallas Cowboys. It all starts on Monday with Eagles game plan as we preview this huge matchup. Then kickoff is Thursday night at 7 o'clock. It's a game you'll only be able to watch here on NBC10. We'll be right back.
This is NBC10 at Issue.
Before we wrap up this edition of NBC10 at Issue, a reminder, you can see more of my interviews with lawmakers, candidates, and political experts and voters. It's all on my Battleground Politics podcast. You can watch episodes on NBC10.com and on our NBC Philadelphia YouTube page, or you can listen when you're on the go. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That does it for this edition of NBC10 at Issue. Thanks for joining us.